Okay, question number 7. In year 13, the scientists will put tree wrap around tree 1 to protect it from the winter snow. If the height of the tree wrap needs to be 45 inches, the wrap is priced by the square foot. To the nearest square foot, how many square feet of wrap does she need? So there are a few things going on with this. If you imagine the tree wrap, what we're going to do is we're going to take that and we're going to unroll it or unravel it, if you will. When we do that, it ends up being a piece of fence or piece of mesh, however you want to classify that. But what it ends up becoming is simply a rectangle. So we're being asked to find the area of that rectangle. They tell us the height is 45 inches. We need to find the width of this particular rectangle. The way we're going to do that is, so as you can imagine, if we take this rectangle and we wrap it around the tree, we create a cylinder. So if you look at the top of that cylinder, we have a circle. The information that we're given about that circle is we're given the diameter or the distance across. So when we look up year 13, it tells us the diameter is 22.2 inches. Now, we're given the diameter. One of the things that we can do right away here is we can turn that into the radius. And in this situation, in every situation with a circle, we know the diameter is always twice as long as the radius. So if we take that 22.2 and we chop it in half or divide by 2, we get 11.1. And the reason we're doing that is because when you look up the formulas for a circle, they're given to you with the radius. So in this situation here, we're given the radius, and we actually need to find the circumference of that circle. That's going to correspond directly with the width of this rectangle. So the formula is given on the formula sheet. The circumference of a circle is 2 pi r. So we've got 2 times pi times the radius, which is 11.1. I'm going to pause for a moment and punch that into our calculator. Okay, when we punch that into our calculator, we get 69.708. We're going to go ahead and just round that to 70 inches. So I guess we're not talking about the width here, we're talking about the length, because that number 70 is greater than the 45, but it doesn't matter because to find the area, we are going to multiply. One thing that we can go ahead and do here before we figure out the area, one thing we have to do is we have to take these inches and convert them into feet. So we will go ahead and do that. Moving forward, we have 70 inches and 45 inches. We're going to take each of those numbers and we're going to convert them into feet. To do this, we're going to use a proportion. We know that there are 12 inches in 1 foot. I know that inches goes on top because I have inches on top over here. And what we're looking for is this particular piece that is unknown. So next I'm going to cross multiply. I know 70 times 1 equals 70. And I like to cross those off when I'm done just to keep myself organized. The last number remaining here is 12, so we're going to divide by 12. We get 70 divided by 12. 70 divided by 12 gives us 5.83, and we're going to use the same process for the other number. We're going to take 45 inches, we're going to convert that into feet, we're going to use a proportion. We know that there are 12 inches in 1 foot. We know that inches goes on top here because we have inches on top over on this side. And we're finding this missing piece. We know our next step here is to cross multiply and then divide. We know 45 times 1 equals 45. I'd like to cross that off. It is 12 that is remaining, so we're going to divide by 12. Punch that into our calculator. Okay, when we do that, we get 3.75 feet. So at this point in time, we're ready to finish this problem. We have taken the width and the height. We have converted those into feet. Those are the correct or corresponding units. At this point in time, we just need to calculate the area. We know to find the area of any rectangle is length times width. So we're going to multiply these two numbers into our calculator and arrive at our final answer. So using our calculator, we know 5.83 times 3.75 equals 21.86 square feet. Question did say go ahead and round to the nearest square foot. So we know that rounds to 22. What I'm going to do, I'm going to take a moment to write the multiple choice answers because I want to look at that with you for a moment. So a few things to point out. We know at this point the correct answer is A, 22. A few things I want to mention. First of all, notice how spread out these answers are. We've got 22, 44, 121, 261. And I wanted to point that out because even if we took these final numbers, if we rounded that to 6, if we rounded that to 4, we know 6 times 4 equals 24. The only answer even remotely close to that is choice A. And I point that out because oftentimes it's okay to round in these situations. You'll notice that we rounded one of those numbers to 70, and I knew that wasn't going to impact our answer in any way. A lot of times they want you to do that. Something else I'd like to point out here is one of these reasons there's such a disparity between these choices is, take a look at B. We've got 44, and I can tell you exactly where that comes from. The people who make the math test, they know that sometimes when a student is given the diameter, they use that number and they plug it into the formula, and that's a mistake. If you'll recall, the diameter is always twice as big as the radius. So if we forgot to chop that in half, it would have doubled our number. And then when we multiplied that against the other dimension of the rectangle, it would have doubled our final answer. That's where that comes from. So these aren't just random numbers. When they develop the test, they're working it out different ways. They're trying to see common mistakes that are made, and they use that evidence, so to speak, to come up with the different answers. So it means be careful what you do. And just because your number final answer matches one of the answers doesn't necessarily mean you are correct. You want to take your time and be careful and go step by step. So final answer to number 7 is A, 22 square feet.